Very progressive bike. I have to do all that again. Good job. Whoa, what do we got here? Woo. Trail maintenance. Whoa. Oh, unexpected. A tree. Hello mountain bikers, Vital MTB in the house, here to talk to you about suspension today, and more specifically Swedish suspension. Öhlins has been in the suspension game for a long time. Going back to the 1970s, they kicked things off with the rear shock for motocross bikes, and ever since then they've built up a very impressive series of race results all around the world, and quite a loyal following in many motorsports disciplines. A few years ago, Öhlins decided to get into the mountain bike market as well, and the first product they focused on was a product that would play to their core strengths: coil springs and damping. That's really what the company built their reputation on, and the result was the excellent TTX22M, a twin-tube coil-sprung rear damper for mountain bike applications. They had a lot of success with that product. It was universally praised, and to this day it still provides some of the best coil-sprung performance you'll find on the market. Getting into air-sprung products was a different story. Öhlins launched the RXF 36 and RXF 34 forks a couple of years ago now, and the reactions were mixed. We essentially found that fork to offer a lot of stiffness and a lot of control. We liked the way the damping felt and behaved, but that first series of forks was beset by bushing bind issues, sticky seals, little things that added up to a fork that didn't feel as good as it could have, and that held it back in reviews. Öhlins, of course, picked up on this, and for a company that built its reputation on excellence, this wasn't acceptable. So they went back to the drawing board, and the result of that is what you see before you here today, the RXF 36 EVO. Now, before I dive into this fork, just a little step back. If you've been following the market, you know that earlier this year Öhlins also launched the RXF 36 Trail fork, which is a completely overhauled and new product, which has shared roots with the product we're here talking about today, but which is an even further evolution of that technology. So don't get confused. The reason that the RXF EVO exists is because Öhlins felt that it really needed to do something about the lack of performance of the original RXF forks. And a byproduct of that process is that a number of performance upgrades will be available for owners of the original RXF 36 and 34 forks. More details on Öhlins.com. What did Öhlins need to do to fix the performance of this fork? Well, one issue that they came across early on in their mountain bike career was the issue of bushing slop. They told us that when you make a motocross fork, it's not uncommon to build in quite a lot of slop and play in the bushing to stanchion interface, and that's because if your bushings are too tight, then invariably you end up getting stiction, specifically when you're side loading the fork or under heavy braking. The very first prototypes that Öhlins came up with for the mountain bike world actually featured quite a lot of bushing slop. If you've ever performed the parking lot test of your fork, you'll know that bushing slop doesn't feel so good on a mountain bike. Weights are a lot lower of the whole system, but also of the fork and wheel in particular when compared to a motocross bike. So any bushing slop will actually be felt to a much higher degree on a mountain bike than on a motocross bike. So Öhlins were sent packing. The test riders of those first prototypes said, well, this isn't going to be acceptable in the mountain biking world, so you're going to have to come up with tighter bushings, and that's what they did, and that was part of the issue with that first series of fork. So they put in a lot of testing hours, a lot of work with their pro athletes, both on the downhill side and on the enduro side, and they came up with what they feel is an optimized bushing to stanchion interface. They used polished bushings now. They've really optimized all the tolerances. They've gone from stickier seals to something different. That's something they say performs as well in the wet, but that is less prone to sticking. Another big change on the RXF 36 EVO is the appearance of a larger negative air spring. Now, if you've paid any attention to the mountain bike suspension market over the last couple of years, you'll know that this is bang on trend, and with good reason. When you increase the volume of the negative air chamber in an air fork or an air shock, you gain a lot of small bump compliance. And going to a larger air volume really changes the way a fork feels on the trail. Good examples are the recent evolutions of the Fox Float 36 and the RockShox Lyric with the updated Debonair air spring. So Öhlins has been kind of playing catch up there. Additionally, they made some updates to the damper tune. Some testers felt that the original damper tune was too heavy. Particularly lighter riders would struggle to find a happy place. So Öhlins revised that and have gone to an overall tune that should allow more riders to ride in the middle of the adjustment settings. Before we hit the trail and talk about performance, a few words on general features. The RXF 36 EVO offers external high and low speed compression adjustment and external rebound adjustment, and on the air side it has the self-equalizing negative spring, which works in tandem with the main air spring, but it also has a third air chamber which is used to control ramp up at the end of the stroke. So inflating or deflating the bottom out air chamber has the same effect as adding tokens.
In terms of the setup, I'm running the air spring slightly on the soft side for my weight, maybe because I'm in denial regarding how many hamburgers I had this week, or because I just want to make sure that the fork feels nice and plush to keep up with all that coil sprung goodness out back. I'm running probably around 110-115 psi in the main chamber and about 190 or so in the ramp up chamber. In terms of my settings, I'm at about 2 clicks of high-speed compression, and I've got a few clicks of low-speed compression dialed in as well for support. Rebound, I run it probably in the middle of the settings, a tiny bit on the fast side. Out back, I've got a few extra clicks of rebound, and fully open in the high-speed compression with a few clicks of low-speed compression just for that extra support again. And with that said, time to go shred. And we're off. A couple of tiny jumps here to set us up. Keep it low. Bike feels quite lively and hoppy, even with 180 mil of travel on top. It's of course a YT, so it's very progressive. That helps it play nice with the coil shock. Alright, tricky little section to get into here. Off camber, ropes. Gotta carry speed for this drop. Woo. Went nice and deep. Oh, this is tricky. Alright. Lots of confidence from the fork already. It's nicely supportive through here, but little drop. But it's tracking very well. Helped me up nicely through that little off-camber rock section before. Another one. Alright. This is a tricky one. Try to keep the line high over these rocks. Set up for the next section. Wow, the fork is tracking nicely. Alright, holding it down the outside line here. Woo. Whoa, oh, unexpected. Coming in hot to a rock section here. Just go up on the shortcut, drop to flat. Let's stop for a while. Just pull up here, check how much travel we've been using. It's a little drop to flat there. As you can see here, well, it's about where I'd expect to be on that section of trail. It's pretty rough. They're not exactly big hits, but that last drop is to flat. And like I said, I'm running the fork pretty soft, at least on the softer side of the spectrum for my weight. And I'm getting good results. Lots of sensitivity, very plush, and lots of support when I need it. Back to shredding. Hop over that rock, pumping and rolling through here. On the gas, we've got a fun section coming up here. A few braking bumps to put away. Woo! Nice berm, hold us up there. And into a pretty fast off-camber section. Plenty of bumps. Woo! All right. This one is hard to ride fast. Support. Doing a good job. Whoa, 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 what do we got here? Woo! Trail maintenance. What the hell? Yeah, bro, thanks for that. We're gonna keep on shredding. Trail is narrow here. Try to keep this line. All right, and we're out. Let me give you my impressions straight down from the trail. We've always enjoyed parts of the Öhlins fork ever since it was launched, notably the stiffness and the control that you get from the damping unit. The previous version was held back, as we mentioned in the intro, by less than stellar small bump performance and some sticky bushing issues. That's all gone now. The RXF 36 EVO has basically set Öhlins back on the right course. We're a few weeks into riding this fork, and of course we'll want to put some more miles on it before forming a definitive opinion, but it's safe to say that Öhlins has arrived in the mountain bike suspension world. Their coil products were always excellent, and the air products are catching up. The state of the suspension market is excellent. In 2019 we have the Fox 36 and the new Lyric D1 Air as the front runners among the mainstream big brands, and if you've ridden those forks you'll know they really perform at a very high level. This bad boy here, it's not far behind. In fact, after a couple of weeks of testing I can't really say that it's behind at all. There's a difference in feel between those three forks, but that's, you know, that's inherent to the characteristics that you'd expect to find with any brand, and the Öhlins approach is definitely working for us. On that note, I think we're gonna go hit another trail. Until next time, stay tuned to Vital MTB. Over now.